Father, for the gift, Lord, of life, and for the messages of love that you've always shared with us throughout our study period. We are now in the third month of our training, and we really pray that these particular messages that we've been learning may be helpful in one way or the other in ministering, Lord, to those who are sick and in need of your help. As we study the cardiovascular system, one of the most common killer diseases, one of the most common system that is affected by diseases currently in the world and also in Kenya. May you grant unto us understanding, and above all, may you give us the strength to do your will in regard to the knowledge that you'll present to us, is my prayer, trusting and believing in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Yes. So can someone remind us where we stopped yesterday? And probably one of the students can give the one who will remind us where we stopped. You can kindly just give a brief, in less than 2 minutes, a brief review of some of the things that stood out for you in yesterday's session, things that you left the class with. Yes, Kevin, go ahead. Okay. So yesterday we introduced a condition called anemia. When I talk about diseases, I normally love giving as much background, as much information about a condition as I can possibly share, so that in our treatment and management of these particular conditions, we do not in any way and hurt patients. And we saw that there are majorly three causes. When you look at the pathophysiology of anemia, there are majorly three things that are involved. It's either the patient has few red blood cells or too little hemoglobin, or the hematocrit values is low. Hematocrit, as I said, it's more or less an estimate. It's a calculated value from red blood cells and the hemoglobin. So when you do a full hemogram test, it normally just comes there. All these, the red blood cells and the hemoglobins. What we normally look at mostly is the hemoglobin, and that's we'll see that. And then we also talked about some types of anemia, and we looked at aplastic anemia and some of the causes of this particular kind of anemia. And then we looked at megaloblastic anemia, and we linked it to three major minerals that are absorbed in your digestive system. And this kind of anemia majorly affects those who have undergone surgical procedures in their digestive system. In their stomach, let's say they went through a stomach surgical procedure, or the ileum. That's when someone can possibly have this kind of anemia. Or if you are abusing health to the fullest, let's say you're taking fiery food that is filled with spices, it interferes with your digestive system, making vitamin B12 absorption and impossible, mostly if you're a vegetarian, because our only source, our only safety when it comes to vitamin B12 is a very good gut. You need the healthiest gut that you can have, filled with the good and the bad bacteria, the microbiota. for you to be able to just get enough of the vitamin B12. So we have folic acid, which we also explained. And then I believe we stopped at blood loss, anemia. As we said, in anemia, the red blood cells can either be less or decreased. Secondly, the hemoglobin levels can be low. There might be enough red blood cells as you are supposed to have, but then the hemoglobin in these red blood cells have reduced. So in blood loss anemia, these are types of anemia. It's an umbrella word, and under this umbrella term, there are different types of anemia. So blood loss anemia, as its name suggests, this is anemia, a lack of blood that results from you losing like blood literally. So there's an example of such called hemorrhagic anemia. And in hemorrhagic anemia, majorly it is caused by hemorrhage. Hemo simply means blood, the red blood cell. Rage is more or less loss as a result of rupture. So in hemorrhagic anemia, the blood is lost from ruptured blood vessels. Let's say you are probably involved in an accident somewhere and you get cut. When you get a very deep cut and the arteries and the veins are exposed, you lose some good amount of blood depending on the time that you'll take before that particular wound is closed. So some of the causes of hemorrhagic anemia, I've talked about trauma, vitu kama accident. Other causes ni hemorrhoids. Hemorrhoids are just swelling. The veins, your veins and the arteries in the anal region ziki swell. They might rupture, causing bleeding. And then we have stomach ulcers as well. Stomach and an ulcer is just a wound. So stomach ulcer are wounds in your stomach. And if that wound is deep enough to the point that it gets to your blood vessels, the arteries and the veins, you lose a lot of blood. And one of the ways of knowing that someone is losing a lot of blood, someone with ulcers, stomach ulcers, is when their fecal matter is black. And then we have iron deficiency anemia. Iron is one of the components that are needed to make blood. One of the components that are needed to make blood. And so if you are deficient of this particular iron, let's say probably you're not getting enough iron from your meals, we can get iron from green leafy vegetables. We can, a good example is amaranthus. Amaranthus ni terere. That's a very good example, a very good leafy vegetable where we can get iron. There are two types of iron. There is heme iron and non-heme iron. Heme iron iko na essentially just hemoglobin. Non-heme haina hemoglobin, but when you take it, the non-heme iron in it will just be turned into iron, the heme iron. So in iron deficiency and anemia, there's excessive loss of iron or inadequate intake of iron. And one of the ways you can lose iron, we are told that women are at a higher risk. Actually, that is true. And then they normally lose their iron by menstrual bleeding, or when so a little one is growing in their home. If they don't eat well to get enough of these iron, they might end up being anemic. So those are the two types of anemia where there's blood loss. And so in treating anemia, those are some of the things that you must consider. When someone approaches you, when someone comes to you and tell you that they were diagnosed or they were found not to have enough blood, in their system, you have to question further to know what's really causing this particular thing. Just the other day I was reached out to by a patient, and specifically she just wanted me to prescribe remedies for anemia. I normally don't do that. I don't prescribe herbs until I have a clear picture of what of what I'm just about to prescribe a herb for. So I engaged her, asked several questions, and from my engagement, I realized that she was actually asking for her husband. So I realized that the patient had hemorrhoids, and the hemorrhoids were surgically corrected. That's one of the ways hemorrhoids are treated. So the hemorrhoids were surgically corrected, but then after surgery, he had been losing. He had been losing a lot of blood. So I was interested. Okay, why would someone lose blood after surgery? So when I questioned further, I realized that that particular guy, the patient, actually was diagnosed by he was diagnosed with colorectal cancer. So what was causing his bleeding? He was bleeding a lot, like he was releasing fresh blood from the anal region occasionally, na hakuwa na enough blood. So you have to consider that unaweza patiana dawa zenye zinaongeza damu na mtu ana lose damu, so you'll more or less be adding blood as they lose. That's why we normally champion for just grabbing the bull by its own, looking at the root cause of each and every condition. So after I realized that the patient had some history of hemorrhoids, which was corrected. Na saizi sasa kuna colorectal cancer, it's okay. I can prescribe herbal products which would help in building the blood. But then we have to treat the colorectal cancer. And when they went for a test, they realized that the colorectal cancer had actually spread or metastasized to the liver. And you know, the liver is a very integral organ when it comes to blood formation. Because when you have little blood, as we said yesterday, the liver will produce which hormone? Can someone remind us? Can someone remind us? Kumbe sijuangi kufundisha hivi like kabisa. Those are one of the most important things. If there's no one in the class who can remember, it means that it wasn't well taught, or probably I didn't emphasize on it enough. Let me see. It's not even in my slides. Did I really mention that hormone? Those are one of the most important things, because can someone kindly, did I mention the hormone? Did I mention hematopoietin hormone?
Yes, you did.
Oh, that's nice. If I mentioned it, that's nice. Okay. Let's get back to our slides. So, so the cancer equation metastasized to the liver. And you know, the liver produces hormones that helps in regulating such. So when the liver is compromised, you see, there's a lot of problem. The patient is losing blood. The liver already is compromised. The liver should, through the help of the hormone, inafaa kuwa inajua a lot of blood is being lost. and it should produce hormones to stimulate your bones to produce more blood. So when it's compromised, you see there's a lot of problem. So when you give even these medications, hizi medications eti itaongeza tu damu hivyo hivyo. They have to work venye mwili yako inafanya. They have to awaken, the liver. One of the herbs that I use for anemia is dandelion. One of the best herbs for the liver. Another herb is burdock root, one of the best herbs, for the kidney and the liver. Dandelion is also very good for the kidney. So it's very, very important to know all that. That's why I'm giving all this information, so that when it comes to treating such conditions that are very common, we do not mess. And then we have hemolytic anemia. Hemolytic comes from lytic inamaanisha lytic comes from the word lysis. Lysis is more or less breaking, something of that sort, breaking, ama bursting. Yeah. So hemolytic ni kama the red blood cells in a burst. So this is a type of anemia where the red blood cells burst, and when the red blood cells ziki burst, what happens is you will lose a lot of them, and you lose a lot of red blood cells and hemoglobin. When you lose this, you are at a higher risk of not having enough blood in your system. So this one is a good example of hemolytic anemia is sickle cell. We'll talk about how sickle cell can actually be treated, and most of it, hemolytic anemia is hereditary. Hemolytic anemia is hereditary. So let's talk about causes of anemia. Just a repetition. Can someone tell us something about the picture? Anyone?
I can see a baby
Yes.
who doesn't seem to be enjoying the vegetables.
Someone says loss of appetite, doesn't seem to be enjoying the vegetables. Yes, Winnie.
I will say anakula vegetables sana. Ni kama yeye ni vegan.
Interesting. Okay, so what are some of the causes of anemia? We've seen that in women, there's an increased requirement for things like iron and folic acid, because they really come in handy when it comes to blood making. And we also talked about vitamin B12, which is very, very essential. And when we talk about vitamin B12, what we essentially mean here is that your gut should be at its best of health, at the best health as possible. So we have menstrual. Why? Because they menstruate monthly, when they are expectant, when they are lactating or breastfeeding, when a growing infant and children also have some increased, like they need a lot of these things that make blood. And then the hormone, the specific hematopoietin hormone in the liver inaitwa erythropoietin. Inasaidia sana for the formation of red blood cells. Red blood cells tuliona zinaitwa erythrocytes. So erythropoietin is a hormone that helps that stimulates the production of red blood cells. So there's an increased requirement in those groups of persons that I've mentioned. And that's why we always told that the highest amount of our servings should always be fruits and vegetables. And then we have there are those who have increased loss. Those are the causes of anemia, increased loss. So one of the things that might increase loss of blood, as I have said, there is bleeding in the gastrointestinal system, GI bleeding. You can bleed probably due to cancer somewhere in your gastrointestinal system, or probably a wound somewhere. Let's say some stomach ulcers, and most of them can either vomit blood or you can see it in their stool. The stool becomes black, and when the blood is fresh, it might mean that they're having cancer in their GI system. So you have menorrhagia. Menorrhagia is excessive menstrual period. Let's say your menstruation period is prolonged and very heavy. Let's say even for 14 days, or you experience your menstruation twice in a month, and that's menorrhagia. We have persistent hematuria. Hematuria ni kukojoa damu. Hematuria. Urea inamaanisha tu urine. Alafu mat inamaanisha kukojoa. Alafu hii inamaanisha tu hemoglobin ama damu. So hematuria inamaanisha kukojoa damu. And then we have intravascular hemolytic anemias, which we've talked about. Hemolytic anemias kama sickle cell anemia, which is very common. That one we'll talk about and how it can be treated. And then we have regular blood donors. You shouldn't donate your hufai kukuwa ignorantly, ignorantly gracious, or I don't know how to put this. I really don't know how to put this, but regular blood donors lose blood, and parasitic infections kama malaria pia inaweza fanya mtu akose damu sana. Malaria, how it normally happens is when you are bit by a malarial, let's say a falciparum, like the mosquito that has the ability to cause malaria, there are about three types of female mosquitoes, female Anopheles mosquitoes that can cause malaria. So let's say I'm bit by one of them today. In 7 to 14 days, the egg will be in my liver, incubating na zikizaana. So after 2 weeks, after 14 days, within that time, 7 to 14 days from now, sitakuwa na any symptoms at all. Sitakuwa na any symptoms. So after 14 days, when now these particular parasites are migrating now from the liver into your blood vessels, that's when you start having symptoms, vitu kama headache. It's normally some central headache to the forehead, let's say, fever. It normally comes with fever and chills and some serious pains on your joints, back pains na vitu kama hizo zinaanza sasa kuonekana. And then what these particular parasites normally do in your blood, they attack your red blood cells, and when they attack the red blood cells, they cause the red blood cells to rupture. So when malaria is left untreated, what happens is you might die because of lack of blood. If the parasites multiply sana, you might die. There are people who have died juu wamekosa or wamekuwa na anemia as a result of malaria. And then we might have some decreased intake of, the things that are needed for making blood. Let's say iron, vitamin B12, folic acid, the intrinsic factors, and what else? You can mention them. So an impoverished diet. This is normally quite rare. Impoverished diet, quite rare. And unless I don't know which corner of the world you're living in, but it's quite rare to be deficient of blood juu ya venye unakula. And then we have decreased absorption. which is quite common. Decreased absorption inakwanga very, very common. You are eating well, your diet is not impoverished. Unakula hizi vitu zote, but your digestive system imekuwa compromised. Why? Probably some surgery affected them. Ama the medications that you're taking, mostly medications that are used to treat ulcers. Hizi medications zote zenye nimeandika hapa zinatumika kutibu ulcers. Antacids, Zantac, supplements containing aluminium, majorly aluminium, magnesium, which majorly zinatumikanga na kwa ulcers, calcium, zinc, proton pump inhibitors. And a good example of a proton pump inhibitor ni omeprazole. So vitu kama hizo zina destroy the digestive system, and when your digestive system is destroyed, you'll absorb less and less of these. So these are the kind of information that you always need to have at your fingertips when talking to a patient with anemia. These are the kind of questions that you'll ask them, and advice that you'll always give them. They might not be using these medications. They might not have had surgery. They might not have any gastrointestinal disease, vitu kama celiac or Crohn's disease, but they might have one of these things that I've listed that might cause 1 or 2 or 3. Haiwezi kosa. So those are the causes of anemia. We've talked about types of anemia. We've seen the causes of anemia in-depthly. So what are some of the signs and symptoms of anemia? Someone tell us something about the picture.
I'm feeling dizzy.
Kasichana kamelala.
Fatigue. Fatigue.
Great. Anybody else?
Blood vision.
Blood vision. So why would someone feel dizzy or fatigued ama wakuwe na blood vision when anemic? Somebody else. Someone who has not responded. Why would someone be dizzy or feel tired, which is fatigue, ama kukuwa na blood vision? We still have 1 hour, 30 minutes to go. Anyone?
Because they don't have enough blood in the cells.
I disagree.
Mwalimu, I think it's hemoglobin is too little to supply oxygen.
Exactly. The thing there is oxygen. Hemoglobin ziko kidogo, and kama ziko kidogo, they do not. Thank you, Joel, for that. So the symptoms, as our good moms here have said, we have they easily get fatigued. They lose energy easily. The heart at times can beat very rapidly, particularly when they are doing some kind of exercise, when the activity levels is an increase, that is exercise. Walking ni exercise, increased physical activity ni exercise. So be it unapanda stairs, hiyo ni exercise. Be it you're walking, that's exercise, that's some physical activity. So the heartbeat normally at times zinakwanga very rapid, and then we have shortness of breath, headache, particularly with exercise as well. And then they might have some difficulty in concentrating, some dizziness, some pale skin. Pale skin inamaanisha pale inamaanisha whitish. And then we have some leg cramps, some insomnia. Insomnia ni kukosa usingizi and all that. So all this is due to just lack of sufficient oxygen supply to the various places that they are actually needed. So let's talk about iron deficiency anemia. This is the most the commonest anemia that you'll meet out there, and there are symptoms that are specifically related to iron deficiency anemia. We have soreness of the mouth with cracks at the corners. I believe you've always seen such in some people. Inaweza kuwa juu ya infection ama anemia, the soreness of the mouth and cracks at the corners. So it's a symptom for anemia and other conditions as well. And then we have the upward curvature of nails, inaitwa polyneichus. Sijui kama niliekanga picha hapa. Sikuekanga picha. But if you Google, you'll just see their nail is more or less spoon shaped. Ikiwa zinakaa tu kama spoon. Instead of kukaa kama the bottom part of the spoon, inakaa kama the top part of the spoon where you normally put your food ukiingiza kwa mdomo. So the nails curve upwards. And then a hunger for strange substances, iron deficiency anemia, an hunger for very strange substances. An example is pepper, ice, or dirt. This particular condition clinically tunaita pika. Pika ni kusikia tu kukula vitu kama mawe, kukula vitu kama mchanga, unaona, and so on and so forth. So those are the three major causes. Not really causes, but those are the three major signs. Mbona niliandika causes? Anemia caused by iron deficiency anemia. Those are the three major signs. And then anemia caused by vitamin B12 deficiency. These are the major signs. Number one is tingling or pains and needles sensation in the hands or feet. By the way, hii inaitwangwa neuropathy. Najua mlifundishwa neuropathy mkifanya the nervous system. So the pains in someone might feel pains on their peripheries, the hands, the legs. Na hizi pains zinakaa ni kama zinadunga. Inaitwangwa peripheral neuropathy ama kuchoma. Ukisikia your peripheries unachomeka, your hands and your feet. Ukisikia ni kama unachomeka, hiyo inaitwangwa neuropathy. And one of the best treatment for such conditions inakuanga turmeric, cayenne, moringa. Anything that has B vitamins in it normally helps a lot. Vitu kama guava leaves, vitu kama moringa, vitu kama turmeric, cayenne, zinasaidia sana. Aloe vera, zinasaidia sana. Hizo najua mlifundishwa. So anemia caused by vitamin B12 deficiency. Most people wenye wanakuanga na neuropathy, not all of them wanakuanga deficient na vitamin B12. But kuna wenye wanaweza kuwa nayo lakini wako tu na vitamin B12 vizuri. And the only way you can know someone is deficient of vitamin B12 is doing a test. So we have lost sense of touch. Ukiwashika, our respond. Why? Vitamin B12 is essential for the nerves, for the functions of your nerves, vitamin B12. That's why when you're deficient of this particular vitamin, your nerves loses sensation. And then we have wobbly gait and difficulty walking. Unatembea kama mtu mwenye amelewa. And then we have clumsiness and stiffness of the arms and legs. Clumsiness it's something more or less close to carelessness. Like you don't really give care to details na vitu kama hizo. There's the dementia. Dementia is loss of memory. Kuna hallucination ni kuona vitu zenye ziko. Paranoia ni kuogopa tu excessively vitu haziko. Schizophrenia, it's a mental condition. The same thing too. Kuonana tu na vitu zenye ziko and all that, just being deluded. So as you can see, the signs and symptoms of vitamin B12 deficiency are linked to the functions of the nervous system. That tells you how vitamin B12 is very essential for the functions of your nervous system. Are we together up to that point?
Yes.
Okay. So signs hizi ni vitu kama vitu zenye wewe utaona kama daktari, kama a wellness coach, and symptoms ni vitu zenye patient atakuambia some of the things that they've noticed yenye imebadilika. Hizi pia unaweza uliza tu patient if you're curious and you have them at your fingertips. Unachokanga haraka ukitembea and all that, but it's normally not a good clinical practice to ask patients leading questions. You should always allow them to tell you how they feel without you asking them specifically venye wana feel. Let's say you are probably amekuongelesha kidogo and you are suspecting that they might be having diabetes. Juu unajua symptoms of diabetes, you might be tempted to ask, unasikianga excessive thirst ama your urination levels siku hizi kwaje, increase sana usiku ukienda ukilala, unamkanga sana kwenda kukojoa, ama unasikianga joto mingi sana ile yenye imeshinda ya kawaida. It's totally okay to ask such kind of questions if you're curious, but normally haikuangi a good kind of practice, but you can just do it. Mi sionangi shida. So signs and symptoms. Signs ni vitu zenye utaona kama brittle nails, spoon shaped nails, in the tongue utaona atrophy of the pupillae. Pupillae ni hizo vitu ndogo zenye ziko kwa the tongue. They normally atrophy ama they lose their color and all that. And then we have angular stomatitis. Hiyo ni what we described here as soreness on the mouth with cracks and the corners. Alafu we have the air might be brittle. At times they might have difficulty in swallowing food, inaitwa dysphagia. Ama their throat iko inflamed, glossitis. Alafu kuna palmar veins, Kelly Patson, not quite important. So some of the signs, A na B, A ako anemic. Why? Juu the eye, kwa macho yako nilikuambia kuna very tiny blood vessels zenye zinaitwa capillary, and when you look at someone's eye you should be able to see blood in those capillaries. Lakini kama macho ya mtu iko white kama EA, inamaanisha that they are probably having low blood. Alafu kuna paleness ya the skin. Kuna hiyo yenye imeandikwa anemia, kuna hiyo imeandikwa normal blood, na hapo chini unaonyeshwa venye ndani iko. So we'll proceed, and these are just some of the signs and symptoms of anemia that we've talked about. So how do we manage or treat anemia? I'll give us 5 minutes and then we proceed. Not exactly 5 minutes, but I'll give us some time and then we proceed. I want you to think about how anemia can be managed. Oh, there was a very wonderful message in the group. My heart is warm. So let's see what I wrote here. There's a lot. Will I really be okay? There's a lot. Let's see what we can do. So we have some of the objectives when it comes to managing diabetes. What are some of the things? Someone has typed a message. Eat more iron supplement. Okay. Iron supplements. Okay. So what are the management? So there are some objectives here. And the first one, you need to determine the cost. And tumeangalia hizo vitu zote. Some of the like there are different types of anemia na ziko na different causes and all that. So you need to know exactly what we're dealing with. Very, very important. You need to know what you're dealing with. Patient akikujia kwambia damu ilipatikana kidogo, you look at the blood test, uangalie ni nini hiyo. But majorly inakuanga tu iron deficiency, anemia, ndio inapatikanaga, ndio inakuanga mingi sana. And iron deficiency anemia inakuanga rahisi sana kutibu. That's what we look at here. So determine the cause. Etiology is more or less cause. So etiology often multifactorial, like there are several causes. Even when the cause is obvious, investigate for serious underlying causes. Na nika specify, e.g. cancer. Very, very important. Very, very important. And then aim of treatment. So once you've known the causes, you now need to aim you need to see what you'll aim. Number one, if it's cancer, you need to now aim in trying to help treat that cancer as you replenish the blood. So replenish iron stores. And this will help normalize hemoglobin levels and red blood cell indices. And then thirdly, lifestyle management is very, very essential. So you need to give some dietary advice and just advise the patients to change unhelpful habits. So some of the dietary or lifestyle habits specifically that helps in the prevention and reversing anemia. New start. So we have things like rest. It's advisable that we should always sleep 2 hours before midnight. And just leave our windows slightly open for good circulation of air. Kama hakuna good ventilation in your bedroom. But if there's good and sufficient ventilation in your bedroom, it's okay. Personally, I normally leave all my 2 windows widely open without any fear of malaria. And then we of mosquitoes. And then we have exercise. You should do it well. Isn't it vitu mtajisomea tu. And then take cold baths, majorly in the morning after your exercises, and then you can take some warm bath before going to bed. Cold bath is very, very essential, and it's very good in terms of increasing immunity and also in just helping the brain function. And then we talk about avoid foods that decrease iron absorption. This is very, very important. This is where most people go wrong. So we might be increasing their iron intake, but at the same time taking these particular iron supplements with foods that decrease their absorption. So avoid foods that decrease iron absorption and those that interfere with vitamin B12 absorption, production, and the storage. A good example is caffeine. It's a chemical that is found in tea, coffee, drinking chocolate. Sijui hadi mbona sikuandika drinking chocolate. Let me just change that right now. There's drinking chocolate. And then we have energy drinks as well. Yeah. Let me see the notes that I wrote down here. So we have you need to decrease that. not decrease. Caffeine, you don't decrease actually. You do away with it wholly. So there's tea, there's coffee, there's drinking chocolate, there's energy drinks. And then we have alcohol. It interferes with the protective mucus lining. And then we have soft drinks, vitu kama soda. We have sugar, we have artificial sweeteners. We have artificial sweeteners kama MSG, inakuanga mingi sana in cakes. And then we have food additives, spicy food. We saw some of the spices that we can use yesterday and some that we cannot, is not advisable to use. An example is mustard and black pepper, the kinds that irritate ama zina corrode the mucus lining. We'll talk about more of them tukiangalia the digestive system, those spices. So milk and dairy products. So tech enhancers of iron absorptions, vitu kama vitamin C, is powerful. It's commonly said that in plant sources, the iron that is in plant majorly haikwangi readily absorbed into your system, which is true if we compare it to the iron that is in flesh food, red meat. The iron that is in red meat itakuwa absorbed haraka and faster as compared to the ones that are in vegetables. But that does not mean that our body does not have the ability to utilize, the blood building properties that we find in vegetables. So you can always cook your mbogas with, things that have vitamin C in them. Vitu kama nyanya, vitu kama cucumbers, not cucumbers, but paprika. Paprika inaitwangwa nini kwa Kiswahili? Can someone kindly help?
Is it not hoho?
Yes, exactly. It's hoho. Use them, utilize them in your cooking of, your vegetables, your legumes. Kidney beans inakuanga na a lot of the iron in it. So tech enhancers of iron, vitamin B, vitamin C, and it's actually interesting how God placed vitamin C in vegetables, because He knew that for the blood building properties that are in the vegetables to be easily utilized in our system, I need to put vitamin C hapo ndio zikuwe absorbed haraka. So we serve a very wonderful and a marvelous God. So promote and support exclusive breastfeeding for about 6 months, followed by breastfeeding with appropriate complementary foods, including iron-rich through secondary year of life and all that, daily exposure to sunlight. And then this is important. We talked about it yesterday. Take freely whole grain cereals and grains and abundance of green leafy vegetables. Do not overcook vegetables. Very, very important. The more you cook your vegetables, the more you lose the vitamin C in them. Iron haitapotea ni sawa, but the vitamin C, the more you cook the vegetables, the more you degrade vitamins in your vegetables. So in whole grains, kuna kwanga na substance inaitwa phytate ama phytic acid. And it's normally a substance that is known. Utasikia some doctors tell you, we cannot depend on grains, vitu kama beans for iron. Juu ziko na phytic acid yenye ina inhibit iron absorption. You'll hear that a lot from people. Na vitu kama hizo zitawa confuse and mtashangaa mfanye nini. So it's true that phytic acid inhibit iron absorption, but God has given us very many ways of reducing this phytic acid from our food components. An example, number one, we can sprout these cereals and legumes. We do cooking. Our first practicals after your camp meeting should be cooking. I'm currently writing some of the things that we'll need and how we'll handle things. Naandika hiyo curriculum ya cooking. So on 17th, we should have a class. I'd prefer kama mnaweza tupatia the whole day. If it's not possible to get the whole day, we can probably plan for 24th, kama tunaweza pata 24th the whole day. If possible, I was planning we meet quite early at around 8. Na from 8 tufanye practicals on cooking. Tukimaliza kupika, tupike tu vitu zenye tutakula lunch. Tufanye practicals on cooking, vitu tutakula lunch. Lunch ikifika tunakula. Have a short break and then proceed from lunch to pike vitu zenye tutakula. Tutakula jioni, our second meal, some light supper. So you guys will just give me the feedback. We won't discuss it right now. So we have that. So number one is sprouting. We'll talk about sprouting. And then number two, we have talking. Some of these things, the drier the cereal or the grain or the legume, the more the phytic acid in it. So one of the things that helps in reducing phytic acid is just soaking these grains overnight. And you need to increase foods that are rich in vitamin C, E, calcium, and proteins. I believe we are clear. The notes are yours. I'll share them. We proceed.
Marim,
Yes.
okay, you said that we meet on 17th we do cooking. It will not work because on that date,
Yes.
then they will be doing clearing. Let it be on 24th.
Okay, 24th is okay. Ni sawa. Tutaifanya 24th. Based on it. Yeah, that's thank you for that. So it is a mistake. Easy quotations. Okay, let me just read them, but you can easily just read them for yourselves. Let me read the first one. It is a mistake to suppose that muscular strength depends on the use of animal food. This is God speaking to his beloved children. You know, he's speaking to those whom he sent his son to come and die for. He's telling us that our life does not depend on animal food. Our life does not depend on milk or eggs or flesh. You know, we do not derive our strength from all that. But where do we get all this? She says that the need of the system can be better supplied and more vigorous health can be enjoyed without its use, without the use of what? Animal food. She says, the grains with fruits, nuts, and vegetables contain all the nutritive properties necessary to make good blood. Interesting. So in as much as science might tell us that, you know, phytic acid or iron or, God tells us that grains, fruits, nuts, vegetables contain all nutritive properties to make good blood. Mimi sikuona penye Adam alikufa juu hakuwa na enough blood kwa Bible, and Adam was a total vegetarian or a vegan. Not really a vegan, but alikuwa anatumia whole plant-based food. And yeah. And then we have this one. You should use the most simple food. Very, very important. Prepared in the most simple manner. We'll talk about cooking. That the fine nerves of the brain be not weakened, benumbed, or paralyzed, making it impossible for you to discern sacred things. You know, it's interesting how God has calculated all these things for our salvation. We read when we were beginning our classes on nutrition that the health message was given for the salvation of man. You know, these reforms that we are taught on health were basically just given for our salvation. But you'll hear most people say that health reform is not salvational. But what we do not understand is how is health reform? That's the question that we need to ask. Like what role does the health message, eating, what role does eating and drinking play in our salvation as humanity? That's the big question. Hatufai kuwa tuna debate na kuargue tukisema health message haiko salvational. Okay, ni sawa, umesema haiko salvational. Why do you say that? Can you kindly explain why? Ukisema ni salvational, kindly explain why. How is it salvational? Salvation essentially is more or less just man being being given back his former glory. Now, ukisoma steps to Christ, it's good I have it close here. The second chapter, that is the sinner's need for Christ. Paragraph 1 inasema, this is the state of man initially before his fall, and the plan of salvation was put down for man to get back to that form that he had before his fall. So tunaambiwa man was originally endowed with noble powers and a well-balanced mind. He was perfect in his being and in harmony with God. That was man before his fall. But after his fall, a lot of things happened. Na ukisoma Genesis chapter 3, tunaona some blame game happening. Tunaona venye man amekuwa very selfish. Lakini man was created in the image and likeness of God. God is not selfish. So what happened to man? What made man selfish? Why is Eve, blaming the serpent and Adam blaming Eve? There was a lot, and they could not do anything to save themselves, and so God came up with various ways of trying to save them, and one of them is food. God knew, or God knows, that if we eat the right kind of food, then our perception will be heightened to a point that we will easily appreciate truth. We'll actually easily know why Christ died for us. Not just knowing why Christ died for us. Knowledge of truth alone does not avail much. Not just knowing why Christ died for us. And so we are told that for us to discern sacred things, the mind has to be in the best health possible. Like for us to know and understand the Bible or truth well, it begins with the health message. That's how important health is. And for us to essentially just have the strength, the willpower, everything depends. Ukisoma Steps to Christ, page 48, everything that we do depends on the strength of your will. And one of the things that strengthens your willpower is food. Food can either weaken and destroy your willpower when not done right. An example, when you take a lot of alcohol, when you overeat or overfeed, that's one of the signs of the end. So it's very, very important for us to hold the health message is very, very important, and it plays an important role in our atonement and cleansing of sin. So when we talk about when a patient gets to a doctor, let's say they have some of 3 or 4 of those symptoms of anemia. Let's say someone comes to you akwambie, daktari, siku hizi nasikia nikitembea hata kidogo nasikia tu nimechoka, kichwa inauma, ama nasikia tu kizunguzungu. Kizunguzungu ni dizziness. Shida inaweza kuwa gani? The first thing that personally for me will come to my mind is circulation of blood. Haiko fiti. And that's the first thing. So what will come to my mind is that probably the blood is this person has a lot of cholesterol in their blood, a lot of fats, or they are anemic. They have their blood is not supplying enough oxygen to the various cells. So as a clinician, what I'll do, my first diagnosis is iron deficiency anemia, IDA, and then I'll request for a test, and when the test turns out, there are different tests. An example, a good example is CBC, the complete blood count. Nikiona hemoglobin ni kidogo, I'll begin by deworming this patient, because probably it's just the there are several worms that are competing for the food that this patient of ours is eating. So I'll deworm them, and then give them treatment. I'll just give them some iron treatment. Either, depending on how critical the condition is, nitawapatia oral iron ama nitawa inject na iron. IV, intravascular injection ya iron, unakuwa injected kwa mkono. So when the oral injection meets its goal, we'll continue with the medication as we monitor the iron status and just to readminister venye iko necessary mpaka patient akuwe sawa. Kama haiko sawa na tulikuwa tushaona ni iron deficiency, tunamfanyia sasa intravascular blood transfusion. So but kama si iron deficiency anemia, in my tests, what I'll do, I'll just do further evaluation. I'll ask more questions to know the cause. So that's basically what happens in hospital. And that's what we'll also do as medical missionaries. So the first thing that we'll always do in anemia is deworm our patients. And one of the herbs, look at the chini kabisa ya slides, kuna herbs za kudeworm hapo. So one of the things that we'll do is to deworm our patients. And one of the herbs that we'll use in deworming, kuna papaya seeds, there's pumpkin seeds, there's wormwood. Wormwood inaitwangwa Artemisia. We'll see Artemisia venye inakaa tukienda National Museum kwa Botanical Garden kuona these herbs. I think that should be 17th now that we'll push the cooking on 24th. Our first practical tutaona ka tunaweza enda museum to see these herbs practically. So other dewormers ni vitu kama garlic, pomegranate najua mnaijua, hyssop not quite common, but papaya seed and pumpkin seeds are one of the best, and wormwood ama Artemisia one of the best in deworming. So you give them a herb ya kudeworm na unaweza wapatia let's say wormwood 1 tablespoon twice a day for 2 weeks. Twice a day una infuse tu ndani ya 500 ml of water, and then you give them. And some of the things that build the blood, tuko na blackstrap molasses, it builds the blood vizuri sana. So blackstrap molasses can be taken, you can take 1 to 2 teaspoons 3 times a day. Alafu there are herbs kama alfalfa, a very powerful herb for the blood. Kuna herb kama nettles ama stinging nettles. Stinging nettles ni dhafai. Alafu kuna burdock. I prefer using burdock root. It's very wonderful. So burdock root, kuna dandelion, kuna fenugreek, kuna comfrey, kuna raspberry leaf, and another powerful medication for anemia ni yellow dock. Very, very good. And then we have beetroot juice pia unaweza tumia. And if your patient is having megaloblastic anemia, you can give them vitamin B12 supplements, ama folic acid, depending on what they're deficient of. So that will be our herbal kit. This is our herbal kit for anemia. Andika tu herbal kit anemia. You can use a formula. Unaweza formulate dawa ya anemia. I want to write you guys a formula for anemia. Ama you can use a single herb hapa. I normally prefer yellow dock, stinging nettles, burdock, dandelion, and alfalfa, mostly for anemia. Liquid chlorophyll inaweza kuwa a little expensive, but if you are dealing with a very rich patient, it's totally okay. If they're able to afford the chlorophyll, is fine. You can buy them chlorophyll. Chlorophyll iko na the exact makeup ya damu venye damu iko. The only difference ni damu iko na iron na chlorophyll iko na chlorophyll, haina iron, but chemically zinafanana sana na inasaidia. So that's your herbal kit for anemia. So as we said in our treatment plan ya anemia, the first thing that we begin with is cleansing. Very, very important. You have to begin with cleansing. So you start with a cleanse, and there are several things that you can use in cleansing. Cleansing inamaanishanga vitu mingi. So you begin with deworming the system, alafu you cleanse the digestive system na vitu kama castor oil orally, ama unaweza tumia detox ama colon cleanser, ndio patient aendeshe kidogo Ruth, umesikia kuendesha ukafungua ukanmute.
It's funny.
So we have you should also
I have a question.
yes, Kevin.
Kulikuwa na patient fulani rafiki yangu
Yes.
alikuwa na ashaongezwa damu kwa nini kama hospitali kama mara 3.
Mara 5.
Madaktari mara 3. Hizo mapints of blood yani anaongezwa tu. So ashaongezwa kama mara 3. So kuna daktari mwingine alienda kwa daktari mwingine akaambiwa kuna kitu inamaliza damu yake na hawajui. So yuko na shida ya damu kuisha, yani every year lazima aende hospitali aongezewe damu. What it would be.
So as we said, blood majorly inakufa in 3 to 4 months. So if the red bone marrow is not able to surpass the destruction of the red cells in terms of haiwezi form blood cells, inaweza kuwa shida. That could be one of the causes. There is probably a red bone, the bone marrow iko na shida, and majorly is akona cancer ama shaifanyiwa any form of akona any underlying condition.
The high blood pressure na huwa na complaint ya arthritis.
So kama kuna high blood pressure to some extent might normally interfere with your liver, and it might when the liver inaweza kosa kunini erythropoietin, inaweza kosa kutoa erythropoietin venye inahitajika. So that could also be a problem. So you'll probably just need some medications, the liver. In that case, if those are the only comorbidities zenye yako nazo, so you might detox the liver, but hii formula nawapatia iko na herbs za liver, so itakuwa inasaidia liver and all that. That's what I can say about his case from the information that you've given. But I still believe that further evaluation should actually be done. Inaweza kuwa hata parasite.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So we begin with cleansing. All of our treatments zitakuwa zinaanzanga na cleansing, and written how you can cleanse, and then step 2, you can always give some warm water, lemon daily and all that. First thing every morning, it helps build blood, cleanse the liver, aids iron absorption and all that. And then step 3, you have to do some liver cleanse. This is a full program, a full protocol for anemia. No matter the cause, no matter what kind of anemia wako nayo. If you follow these with much prayer and effort, you'll be good to go. So you have to do some cleansing your liver, and when cleansing the liver, unatumia dandelion ama milk thistle ama burdock. You can alternate them after every week ama after every 7 days or 14 days. Unaweza zi alternate. Alafu kuna You can use herbal supplements, iron supplements that we mentioned previously. Vitu kama chlorophyll is a very good supplement. I think that's the only one that we've mentioned. We mentioned chlorophyll and blackstrap molasses. And then you just check on their lifestyle and their diet. This is very, very important. You have to know how they live, what they eat, so that you can be able to pick some of these things that affect them. So check on diet and lifestyle. Nuts, whole grains should be eaten vizuri. Fruits and vegetables. Iron builder drinks can be used na vitu kama hizo. So this is a good iron builder drink. Iko na vitu mingi. Use what you find. Use what you find. Kenye inaweza kuwa ngumu probably kupata kwa hii list yangu ni alfalfa and kelp. But alfalfa, if you're someone who is down to earth, you can easily find alfalfa juu. If you find the seeds, the alfalfa seeds, you can easily sprout alfalfa. I think we should, let me write that down tuongelee. We'll talk about diet ya diabetes and how we can sprout alfalfa for diabetes in our classes. Let's write it down. So kuna blackstrap molasses, ginger, some steamed garlic, and young coconut water. So that's a very good blood builder. There are several blood builders. I'll write more in the notes. There's one more in nitaandika. And then when the case is bad, unaweza tumia mayai kama shida iko mbaya kabisa. Unaweza tumia mayai na grape juice. So the egg should be raw, one raw egg, na inafaa ikuwe mayai ya kienyeji yenye haijakuwa injected na antibiotics. A very healthy fall. So mayai moja, a free range healthy fall, mayai moja na grape juice. Na grapefruit. See grapes. There's a difference between grapes and grapefruit. Grapefruit inakaa kama machungwa na ni kubwa. That's what I'm talking about, grapefruit. So look for grape, ama unaweza tumia tu maji ya lemon, just the lemon juice. But grape juice, the better. And then you just mix 1 cup of, a cup is 250 ml. 1 cup of grape juice and 1 egg in a mix, and then you give them to take. You just do that once daily for 3 days. Don't do that for people with cancer. I had a bad experience nikitumia na watu wenye wako na cancer juu mayai inakuanga na lot of inflammation. And after we managed to do away with all the pains, uchungu yote ya patient, when we realized that the blood is very low and all that, tuliamua kufanya nini? Niliamua kumpatia mayai na grape ndio damu iongezeke haraka. But unfortunately pains zilirudi. Yeah. So don't give animal products to people who have cancer. Yeah, so that is it, I think. Let me start a new slide and write on it. Niwaandikia formula that you'll majorly use for any anemia, cases of anemia. So in anemia, I normally prefer, niliwaambia yellow dock. I believe the writings are visible on your end. Yellow dock mnaweza patanga anywhere penye kuna kwanga na maji mingi. There's dandelion. Dandelion is also a common herb in Kenya, but you use the roots zote. Dandelion roots, burdock roots, alfalfa, stinging nettles, so take 2 tablespoons. Mi utachukua 1 tablespoon. Bado utachukua 1 tablespoon. Alfalfa utachukua 1 tablespoon. Stinging nettles chukua 2 tablespoons. Mix them well and then boil. Ukizimix vizuri, utachukua from your mixture, utachukua 3 tablespoons from the mixture and then you boil for 20 to 30 minutes. Depending on penye uko, kama uko coast, unaweza boil for up to 30 minutes. That's when you're in low altitude areas. No, when you're in low altitude areas, unafaa boil for a short time. So just boil for 20 to 30 minutes and then add in 500 ml water, boil in 500 ml water for 20 to 30 minutes, and then hapo hivyo you'll add blackstrap molasses. I normally prefer a lot of it, 3 tablespoons of blackstrap molasses, and do this 2 times, or if they have a lot of time ndio wapone pia haraka, 3 times a
Mwalimu,
day.
you are very fast.
I'm very fast.
Yes.
You are very fast. Wow, sijawahi kuwa fast. But it's okay. So where should I begin again?
Hapa kwa formula.
So the formula ni you mix yellow dock, which is a herb. These herbs you can find them easily from any herbal store. You can also even just give us a call and you can as well find them from us. So we have yellow dock. You take 2 tablespoons. Ni juu hatujafanya herbology vizuri, ningewaandikia tu 2 parts. 2 parts, 1 part, 1 part. It's the same tu. Na kenye nimeandika hapo in terms of tablespoons, alafu 1 part alfalfa na 2 parts stinging nettles. 1 part inamaanisha 2 parts inamaanisha yellow dock unafaa utumie twice as much as hizi zenye ziko 1 part yellow dock. So but hizi tablespoons zitatusaidia sana, so mtumie 2 tablespoon, but unaweza tumia hata kgs. So 2 kgs of yellow dock, 1 kg of dandelion, 1 kg burdock, 1 kg alfalfa, 2 kgs stinging nettles. And then from that formula, hii una mix yote hizi dawa, unazimix vizuri, unakoroga vizuri, and then from it you take 3 tablespoons from that formula. Ukizimix vizuri venye nimetaja hivyo, so unaweza mix mingi kama ni mtu mwenye unataka kupaa kuuze ya anemia, ama kama ni mtu wa kutumia unaweza tumia 2 tablespoons, 1 tablespoons hivyo hivyo, and then from it you just take 3 tablespoons peke yake. You boil in 500 ml water for 20 to 30 minutes. For 20 to 30 minutes. And once you've boiled, you will definitely wait for it to warm. Ukishatoa kwa moto. And then once it has warmed, unaongeza 3 tablespoons of blackstrap molasses. Blackstrap molasses, also a very common herb. Alafu you drink 2 or 3 times in a day. 2 or 3 times in a day. Unafanya hivyo mara 2 ama mara 3 kwa siku. Mara 2 kama hawana time, kama ni mtu mwenye anatoka nyumba asubuhi alafu anarudi jioni. Kama ni mtu mwenye anaweza tumia mara 3 kwa siku, asubuhi, mchana na jioni, the better. The healing will be faster. So you do that until there is a change for 2 to 3 months. For 2 to 3 months until there is a change, and every other thing stands. Are we together?
Yes.
Mwalimu, dosage inafaa kuwa ngapi?
Dosage ni 3 tablespoons. From the formula unachukua 3 tablespoons, una boil ndani ya maji ya a half a liter for 20 to 30 minutes. So unaweka dawa maji ikishaanza kuchemka. So dosage ni 3 tablespoons mara 3 ama mara 2 kwa siku. Hiyo ni around 6 tablespoons ama 9 tablespoons. And that is around 1 liter of water ama 1.5 liters of water. So hii kenye nimeandika hapa 3 tablespoons boiling 500 ml, hiyo unafanya mara 3. Sijui hata kama na make sense.
Nimeelewa.
Okay. So this is the builder juice. Kuna other builder juices. There's a second one that I didn't include. It's quite expensive. If you have a patient mwenye akona pesa, unaweza recommend hata hiyo. I think I'll include it too kwa slides. So treatment normally depends on how much the patient can afford at times. And the more expensive normally the treatment, the faster the healing. Juu unatumia dawa zenye ziko na more, not more quality, but zenye ziko more therapeutic. Okay, I don't know if we still have time.
Niko na swali.
Yes.
Kuna mtu alikuwa mgonjwa. Alikuwa na shida ya like alikuwa anaumwa na mgongo, the lower back, and then na abdomen hapo chini. Sasa alipoenda hospitali, one of the things aliambiwa ni kwamba damu yake ni mingi sana, inaleta shida. How is that possible?
Well, lower back pain, alafu alipimwa UTI. Akona UTI pia.
Alipimwa UTI na alipimwa pia damu. Sasa walikuwa wanasema damu yake ni mingi, aende atransfuse. Ati ilikuwa imepita kiwango mtu anafaa kuwa nayo.
Yeah, that is possible. Inaitwangwa polycythemia. Polycythemia manini? Something like that. I'm forgetting the medical term for it, but inakuanga and hiyo haina dawa. Hiyo unaenda tu una donate.
Okay. So hiyo ndio ilikuwa inamletea hiyo shida.
I highly suspect ni UTI. So sijui UTI yake ilitoka aje, but personally I highly suspect UTI.
Okay. Thank you.
And Sabos is overage.
I have
Yes?
a question.
Yes.
Sabos is overage.
We can have the man go first and then the female.
I'm saying Sabos is overage. How can he donate if at all is overage?
Kama ako overage anatoa tu, alafu si lazima itumike.
Okay. Asante.
Yes, we can
I wanted
have the female.
There's a time my hemoglobin had gone as low as 4 point something. I visited the doctor. They advised me to take beans, spinach, and those other beneficial foods. And he told me to visit him after 2 weeks to do the test.
Mm-hmm.
I heard of the benefits of moringa.
Mm-hmm.
I tried for the 2 weeks.
Mm.
So when I went for the second visit for the test again, my hemoglobin had risen to 12 point something.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, then he asked me, what have you done?
Mm.
I just told him I've used moringa.
Mm.
So I wanted to know if it's also, we can also use it alongside
Yeah.
these other
Yes.
ones.
Yes, moringa is
Oh,
a powerful herb for anemia.
okay.
I don't know why
Asante.
it missed in my list.
Okay.
Mm.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good
Hello.
evening. Hello. Hello.
Okay, I have this question.
You?
Umenition nikiwa kwa matatu,
Ah.
like when someone ako na joto mingi, kama the temperature ina rise and then it drops.
Mm.
Can you explain for me that part kidogo?
Can I?
Like you explained for me, nilikuwa kwa matatu and it was making a lot of noise.
Sikusikii vizuri but nimesikia ukisema mtu akiwa na joto mingi na rise alafu ina drop. But majorly in relation to today's class, majorly watu wenye wako na anemia, they normally tend to feel cold sana haraka, wanasikianga baridi hadi saa wafai kusikia baridi due to circulation ya damu iko very low. Yeah. So yesterday we talked about the blood. Tumemaliza blood. I'll probably discuss sickle cell the next time we meet. There's actually a lot that we need to study in this particular system. It should take us 2 weeks, but unfortunately nilieka to 3 lessons for it. Either way. Yes, Helen.
Thank you, Mwalimu. I have a question on a past topic. On
Yes. I lost your voice.
Hello, Mwalimu. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, sasa nakusikia. Sauti
Ah,
ilikuwa
mtu
ina
alikuwa
break.
pole. Ni mtu alikuwa anajaribu kupiga nika decline kwanza, sorry. I'm asking a question on a past topic on tonsillitis. I have a baby who usually suffers from it, especially when she takes sugary things. What is the remedy for the same? Like now, if it appears, you have to take her to hospital, be given the antibiotics for the tonsils to be in the ipona.
How old is the child?
7-year-old.
I'm just look for the best herb for upper respiratory infections kama hiyo ni echinacea and golden seal. I'd recommend utumie a non-alcoholic tincture of the same golden seal echinacea, but you can as well also just use a herb in a boil and then you just give them to drink. Yeah, a combination of the two is better. And then number 2, if you are probably if you want to save some funds, unaweza tafuta cayenne. Let me see if I have some space here to write. Have we talked about the respiratory system? I doubt. Oh, but tonsillitis ilikuwa kwa
Kwa
lymphatic.
endocrine system.
Muliongelea tonsillitis kwa endocrine. Okay. So we at times cover it on the lymphatic system and on the respiratory system. So the first remedy for your child should be a mixture of echinacea.
Echinacea is an herb.
Yeah, echinacea is a herb and golden seal.
Golden seal, I know about it. It's okay. I'll find out.
And you can either use a powder powder na unamtengenezea tu kama chai you boil and then you give it to them.
Okay,
Una
thank you.
mix to equal parts, alafu you can either buy a tincture and non-alcoholic tincture zinakuanga.
Okay. Thank you, mwalimu.
Sawa. So that's one of the remedies. Cayenne, though mtoto 7 years old, I doubt kama atakubali kutumia cayenne. Peppermint, so it's not necessary. The best one is Echinacea golden seal. So depending on your budget, kama unataka the tincture, I can readily get it for you. So we have
Am I able to get it?
Yes?
Am I able to get it by tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow morning.
Yes.
I highly doubt. You can get it from Healthy You.
Healthy You is where?
There are normally Healthy You stores in town. Karibu na Koinange Street hapo GPO. There's a kuna duka hapo. Opposite hiyo zinakuanga Shell ama nini?
Oh,
But
is Shell
yeah.
petrol station?
Yeah, I think there's a Shell hapo hivi along Koinange karibu na GPO.
No, there's also another one at Hilton.
Yeah, Hilton ni mbali kidogo sana, so Hilton inamaanisha you'll travel outside town. Yeah.
Hilton
But
Hotel.
No, Hilton, it is around Kencom.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's that one is nearer.
Sisi tulikuja Nairobi by bus. Kama ndilituleta huku.
Hilton is around Kencom.
I didn't know. So you can easily get them there.
Okay,
You'll
thank
get
you.
it just at the same price ningekuuzia, so juu sitaki kuji-inconvenience kesho.
Okay,
So we have the heart and muscular pump. The heart, it's a muscular pump, and those are some of its functions. I honestly feel tired, and I really doubt if I'm able to proceed. Can we continue on Thursday?
It's
Yes. And also, Mwalimu,
Yes.
you said that the lesson was supposed to take 2 weeks, right?
Well, normally, according to our normal classes, the gems, it normally takes me 2 weeks kuifanya, but nilipangia 3 lessons easy trainings, but kimeniramba, it won't be possible.
But notes you can share.
Yes?
You can share the notes also.
Yeah, I'll share the notes. We will just chew what we can. I was about to bore you with a lot of science here, but so you'll kindly say that's a prayer, Kevin, and then unless there are more questions, I'll beg to end our class here.
So can we pray? So let's pray. Mungu wetu na Baba yetu, tunakuongoza kwa siku hii ya leo na katika kipindi hiki cha mafundisho ya Bwana, tunapoendelea unaweza kawe nasi, tupatie Roho Mtakatifu atuongoze ili zile ambazo tunafanya Baba, ili tuweze tukasaidia na wengine. Zaidi ya yote saidie ili pia peleke ujumbe wako kwa
Amen.
Amen.
you.